I'm so excited today to have Rachel Allen on the podcast. Rachel is a fast-thinking, deeply nerdy marketer with broad-ranging experience in the for-profit and nonprofit sectors. She's written for some of the biggest and smallest names in business and excels at marketing that's equal parts data-driven and human-centered. Having run a marketing business for 17 years with clients in over 21 countries, Rachel's worked with some of the top names in entrepreneurship, as well as influencers, brick and mortar businesses, and nonprofits around the world. Her work has contributed directly to high ROI launches, leaps in audience engagement, industry awards, relationships with top venture capital firms, and national level honors. Rachel, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Me too.
Welcome to Catalytic Leadership, the podcast designed to help leaders intentionally grow and thrive. Here is your host, author, and leadership and executive coach, Dr. William Attaway.
I would love to start with you sharing some of your story with our listeners, particularly around your journey and your development as a leader. How did you get started?
Gosh, so I fell into copywriting completely backwards. I had no idea what it was until the day I started doing it because I wanted to be a journalist. And that's what I had gone to school for and, done the track, all the extracurriculars, interned at NPR, all the things. And then I graduated in 2008. And of course, no one's hiring journalists.
Right.
It's like, well, okay. So I sent out 200 resumes. I got no responses. And the only job I could get was working in the old Navy warehouse. I was unpacking boxes on the 5 a.m. shift.
My goodness.
Yeah. And even with that, they were like, I don't know, like, it's a little iffy. I don't know if we have too many liberal arts majors already in here.
Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were all in there and I stuck it out for about 6 months, but that wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. And so in my 22-year-old brain, I was like, I wonder what the furthest place away from Tennessee is. And turns out it's Hong Kong. So I bought a plane ticket and moved there. Yeah, totally. The 22-year-old brain was like, yeah, absolutely. Did not get a work visa, had no plan, no nothing. And so I just landed there and had to make rent. And I'm Googling how to make money online,
Yeah.
And I found this gig, which I was sure was a scam because it was saying, we'll pay you $3.25 if you will write us 600 words about this thing that we sell. And I was like, okay, sure you'll pay me that. But, I was desperate and I decided to try it out. And shockingly enough, they did actually pay me. It was a legit thing. And I was so hooked because I was like, I cannot believe somebody would pay me to do something that is so fun for me and so easy. And so that's how I got started in the business. And I think, I said in a bunch of different places, I think starting a business is really the personal development journey nobody realizes they're on until you're in the middle of it. And I think that's had such an impact on my development as a leader.
When somebody starts down this road, they begin to find some success and then you have to hire people to help you with fulfillment. To get a team, whether they're contractors or employees or however you do that. And then all of a sudden you're the leader.
Yeah.
Which you didn't really sign up for that.
Very much no.
So how did you navigate that?
Pretty badly for the first couple years. So I decided after I had done this whole thing for, 5-10 years or something, I was like, you know what? I should build an agency because that's what people in this industry do. And I didn't really think about whether I actually wanted that or not, or whether that made sense for me, or whether I was even suited to run one. But it's you got to scale. That's what you do. So I started hiring people, and with mixed success, mixed results, I guess I would say, largely down to it would have never occurred to me that I needed to speak to these people on a daily basis. Because I didn't, ever work for anybody else. I've never had another job in my adult life. And so I would just send the assignments out and I would expect people to get them done. And sometimes they do them and sometimes they wouldn't. And then I would talk to them once a year, right around Christmas, and be like, hey, is this good for you? Sounds great. Let's keep going.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah. Never would it have occurred to me because I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody else. Like, why do we need to talk to each other?
That may be one of my favorite stories now. I love that. That's so good.
It's the once a year management style.
That's right. The one, I mean, I've never heard that before. You just coined it. So well done, Rachel. That's
Thank
really
you.
good.
My book and seminars will be coming out shortly.
That's right. And that worked really well. I can imagine.
Yeah, it's super great.
My goodness. Oh, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
what caused you to change that?
So I realized I was really frustrated and resentful of what I was doing, and I had never felt like this before. And so I started looking at that, and I wanted to look at myself because even though I was very unprepared to manage a team, like I was pretty sure I was the problem, you know? I was like, I'm not
Mm.
going to just say that like, oh, I just hired bad people, it's their fault. I'm sure like I am the common factor here. It must be something to do with me. So I started reading books about management and about team building. I enrolled in a leadership program, a 4-year program. And throughout that, I actually realized that I didn't want to lead a team. So I ended up descaling, switching over to a boutique one-to-one model. And that actually works a lot better for me because I get to lead, in an industry, but I don't have to lead a team when I don't want to, and I can go into other people's businesses and lead their teams. And I actually really enjoy that. I'm shockingly much better at it than I was in my own business. But with my own day to day, I was like, actually, that wasn't the agency was never my goal to begin with. And so, of course, it didn't go all that great because I didn't really want that.
This story is so important. And I want to emphasize this before we go any farther, because what you are illustrating is a truth that there is not a one size fits all when it comes to building a business or even building an agency. So often people look at the highlight reels of other people that they deem more successful. And they're like, oh, I have to do what they did the way they did it. I have to hire people, scale, grow, build, more people, manage more people. That is a way to do it. But there are multiple ways to do this. And I love what you're illustrating here, that you found what is a fit for you, for how you're wired. And you were comfortable enough with who you are and how you are wired not to feel the pressure to be like the other people that you see around you.
Thank you. It was a hard one lesson. It took about 3 years to really undo the damage that I had done to my business by chasing a dream that wasn't mine. And I'm honestly just really coming out of it in this last year or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I applaud that. I encourage you in that. Like, that's healthy. And I think that that's really a much better fit. The expectations we place on ourselves so often are unhealthy, particularly when we're comparing ourselves to other people and say, well, I should be more like, well, I should do it like, according to who?
Right.
According to who? Be you. Operate the
Right.
way you're wired and designed. Don't feel like you have to be somebody else. There's already one of them. You don't need two.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. Yeah. One of my very good friends says it takes all of us as we are. And I
Yes.
always think back to that. It's like, yeah, I need to show up as me. And that's how I can lead and change and influence and grow the world I want to live in.
And add the most value to the clients
Yeah,
that you serve, I think.
exactly.
So when it comes to marketing, there's a whole lot of, this is a very fast changing field, and in agency world right now, I mean, so many trends, so many strategies people are looking at and evaluating and employing. What trends are you seeing right now?
So I'm seeing, well, I think we're in the middle of one of our periodic apocalypses in the industry. We do these about every 4 years or so. Right now, every time that happens, everybody's like, oh, pack it up. We're done. No more money on the internet. It's over.
That's good. That's
Right?
about
And
every
it's
4
like,
years. I like that.
yeah, no, we go through these and now I can finally see it. It took me about 3
Yeah.
apocalypses to get it down. And I was like, wait, I've done this before. I
That's
know
right.
how this
This
goes.
feels familiar.
Exactly. So I think we're in the middle of one of those, and people always make a lot of money off of other people thinking that it's the end times, right? It's like,
Mm,
oh, it's all over, but if you buy my course, then you can survive. So there's a
that's
lot of
good.
that. Another thing I'm seeing actually, which I find very heartening, is a swing back to analog and like one-to-one relationships, which I
Mm,
think is in response to AI. And I think people feel overwhelmed and frightened of that. And so what they're leaning towards is like, can you send me something in the mail? Can I get something to hold in my hands?
novel.
Right? I know. I can't believe it.
So novel, but so personal.
Yeah.
I think the humanization element is going to become more and more important as we automate so much of what we do.
Absolutely. And I mean, that was, I think I saw Dan Holt on LinkedIn the other day posted something like 23 marketing tactics that are working this year. And the first one was things that will not scale. Because,
Mm.
and that's why like I'll write handwritten
Yes.
postcards to my clients, or I have another client of mine who sends flowers to every client on their birthday.
Mm.
And it's like, yeah, it's so human. It's so lovely. And it's so much different than here's my 7 email nurture sequence with a downloadable PDF.
Gee, I've never seen that before.
I know.
People are listening to this show. A lot of them are in the agency world, and a lot of them are business owners. And for most business owners that I talk to, marketing is intimidating. It's something that they don't fully understand, and it can feel like they're just sinking money into this black hole, and they're hoping there's going to be an ROI, but nobody can guarantee. And so there's a lot of fear and trepidation around it. And when you're talking to business owners, what advice do you give them as they're thinking about marketing?
Well, the first thing I always do is I try to put their mind at ease by saying, as scared as you are of talking to me, that's how scared I always am when calling an accountant or someone who does something with like numbers. I
That's
always
good.
feel like I'm messing it up. I always think I'm doing it wrong. And I'm usually not, but I feel like I'm bad at it. And so that can kind of ease their minds of like, hey, you're probably not doing it wrong, but you, for whatever reason, feel like you're bad at it. And that's okay because I'm really good at it and I can help you with it. And like, I'm not going to judge you about it. So I do that reframe. And then I encourage them to think about what their strategic goals in their business actually are and approach their marketing from that perspective, as opposed to what do the marketing gurus say you should do this year, or what's on trend, or what is the most insecure inside part of you say? It's like, no, what do you want? What are you going to do to make that happen? And how are we going to know if it's working?
I love that. And I love the non-scalability of what you just described.
Yeah, I can build you all sorts of funnels and beautiful things. And if it's not a fit for you, it's not going to work. Ask me how I know.
Right. So it sounds like you listen as you're talking to your clients or prospective clients.
I do. I do. I never work with anyone that I haven't spoken to personally for at least like 20, 30 minutes, just to get the vibe off of them and also to
Yeah.
see if we're a fit, because
Good.
marketing's personal, it has to sound like you. It needs to feel like you if it's going to work. And if for whatever reason I can't, I don't feel like I want to, it's going to sound so woo-woo, be in that energy, but really it's like, I just don't want to like hang out with that person. I'm not going to be able to do convincing marketing for them.
Good. And I think that's an element too that our listeners can really benefit from, listening to the people that you want to work with or potential clients or the clients that you have. If you don't listen, listening is a leader's superpower. And in my experience, it's a less utilized one than I believe it should be.
Absolutely.
That's when you hear the heart. And that's when you
Mm.
can bring the best of you to bear for what they're doing. I love what you said too about, that's how you feel talking to an accountant. We think of accountants as professionals, right?
Mm-hmm.
We think of attorneys as professionals. We think of
Mm-hmm.
doctors as professionals. But I see too many business owners, particularly in the marketing space, not positioning themselves as that same type of professional. The reality is, you know how to do things that I don't know how to do
Right.
as a business owner. And so when I come to you, I want to leverage that expertise in what you have spent your profession learning. Why would I try to second guess you? I don't try to second guess my attorney. I mean, right? I don't try to second guess my accountant. At least I hope I don't. My accountant, the same thing should be true for other professionals that we deal with, but too many people are not positioning themselves like that. So when you're talking to people, how do you do that? How do you position yourself as that person of expertise who's got 17 years of track doing this now? You know a little bit about it,
Yeah. I think the first thing is this is more of an internal thing, but I accept the expertise for myself. I don't go into conversations thinking like, maybe this is the one that I screw up, or, I've done a lot of personal development work and a lot of leadership development work within myself to be like, look, I have a clear vision for where I'm going with my work and my career. And that's what this is in service of. And so my own personal stuff kind of becomes irrelevant, in the light of the mission. So I get my head on straight. And then I go in and I really just try to have a deep sense of empathy for where they are. Because as you said, listening to them and being able to really hear them on like a deep level is something that I don't think most people experience when they're talking to a service professional, because most people have like the box or the funnel or the process or whatever. And I don't. All my work is individual. I design packages for everybody I work with. And I'm like, yeah, because the level at which I am working, your problems do not fit in a box. If you're coming to me,
Good.
you have something more complex. And I know that you're really smart because you've already run a business. You're running this great, successful business. And so if you can't solve this problem, it's a weird one. And so like the level at which I approach the problems, I think also shows people like, yeah, I'm serious about this. You're not going to get the typical, tick the 10 boxes and then, oh, look, you've got marketing thing with me. It's like, no, we're going to think about it. We're going to solve some really weird problems and we're going to grow some relationships.
I love that. The reality is how you deal with people begins with how you deal with yourself.
Mm.
And I love that you've spent the time doing the work to make sure that you're bringing the healthiest mindset and the healthiest perspective as a leader that you can to your clients. And again, that's something I hope our listeners are grabbing onto, because this is work that you can do no matter where you are. If you struggle with things like imposter syndrome, if you struggle with shiny object syndrome, where you're just chasing every new thing, that reflects something going on inside of you. And you got to deal with that, because if you don't, you're going to carry it into every conversation you have, every relationship that you have with clients or prospective clients. I love that you brought that out, Rachel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people can feel it. And so I teach a workshop about how to write bios. And this often comes up because people have done really amazing things, but they feel weird talking about them and they feel like they're not allowed to really own them. And so one thing that I tell them, which is it's actually a phrase from libel law, is just the truth is an absolute defense. So if you did it, you can talk about it and you don't have to make it some sort of like giant thing like, oh, I'm the most amazing person in the whole world who's done all this thing. But equally, it doesn't do anybody any favors if you say something and then immediately try to back it down. It just makes us feel uncomfortable. So it's like,
That's
yeah,
good.
just say the thing and let it stand for yourself and for your clients.
You often say that 99% of marketing advice that people get sets them up to fail. Why do you say that?
Well, because I've seen it fail, but because I've done a lot of analysis, sort of like looking back on projects I've done, projects other people have done, and trying to figure out why they worked and why they didn't. And what I realized is for a sale to happen, you have to have 4 factors all together. And that's you have to have the right thing in front of the right person at the right time and in the right way.
Hmm.
And most of those factors you have no control over. But all the marketing advice is predicated as though you had control over all 4 of those factors. And so it's like, well, you can't control the timing at which someone sees your post, but that means you probably didn't do it right and there's something wrong with you and you should just be in more places. I'm like, that's just cruel. No one can be everywhere.
Well said.
Yeah. I can't control time. I would love to.
It'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Right?
No, that's really good. I mean, focusing on what you can control and understanding that there are elements that you can't, I think that's realistic.
Yeah. And I think something that I've seen so many people just be heartbroken over and leave business over is this refusal to acknowledge that sometimes just sheer luck plays into this stuff. Like sometimes, of course, hard work matters. Of course, doing your best matters. Craftsmanship matters. But sometimes you just hit something just right. And for whatever reason, it takes off. And there's no explanation other than you were there at the right time in the right place and it worked.
That's good. I like that. Speaking of things that have circled around a few times, and we seem to feel a sense of deja vu with this one thing we're hearing a lot in the field is that email marketing, it's over. It's dead. No more
Yeah.
need for that. I mean, I've watched that come through a couple of times through the
Right?
station, right?
Right.
And now we're hearing it again. This is
yeah.
something that you talk about. Do you think that's true?
I mean, if it's dead, I've got a real healthy looking zombie. So, I mean, it's working great for
Excellent.
me.
That's excellent. Perhaps we're not doing it right.
Or, I think, the whole, like the standard sign up for my list and get this free PDF, which no one wants and no one reads. And then I'm going to email you every single week with, analysis, insights, and helpful tips. I do not want any of those things. Nothing. Do not give me more analysis. If I want analysis, I will go and find it. But some things
That's great.
Well, some things that I am finding are working well, though, is just it's stepping away from, I guess, traditional like email marketing and then using the medium of email to communicate in some really interesting ways. So one of my clients, she never emails anything but a question. She emails one really good question to all of her clients on a Thursday, and it puts you in your CEO mind space, and you have to really think about it. And so that's what she's like, look, at the level you're working at, you don't need answers. You have answers. You need somebody who can challenge you enough to be like, I never thought about that. Shoot, what should I do? And
Mm.
I have another client or another friend who's doing this brilliant marketing campaign, which is somehow part scavenger hunt murder mystery, but via email. And people are going crazy for it. And so people aren't tired of email marketing. They're just tired of being treated badly.
Man, I want to think about that. That is really good, Rachel.
Mhm.
Wow. And again, I ingest said, the rest of us are doing it wrong, but maybe we are.
Yeah. I mean, I think that things are working right now are in any kind of marketing. Are people stretching the bounds of what they previously thought a platform or a medium could do? So it's like, yeah, how can you get really weird with your LinkedIn posts? What can we do via email? How can we use these tools that we've been taught to see as doing one thing and break all those rules and use them in a totally different way?
I think about E.E. Cummings. Oddly, when you
Yeah.
say that, I love to read E.E. Cummings because he breaks so many rules.
Yeah.
But you have to know the rules in order to know how to break them well. And I think that's what he was
Yes.
a master of.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
sounds a little bit like what you're talking about when it comes to email marketing and other
Yeah.
types.
Yeah, because I mean, both of these people can absolutely bang out a 7 email nurture campaign. They can do the newsletter thing. They can do whatever. But it's just like they know that they don't want those things in their inbox. They don't read them.
Hmm.
And so now they're thinking about what would I actually voluntarily read? What would I go
Hmm.
into my inbox for?
Wow. That's a great question. Thinking about you as a business owner, you have to lead your clients and your business at a higher level today than you did 5 years ago. And that same thing is going to be true 5 years from now. What are you doing to stay on top of your game? How do you level up your leadership skills so that they're going to be what your clients and your business need them to be in the years to come?
I love that question. I think the first thing I read all the time, and whether that's leadership books, business books, but also fiction and all sorts of crazy nonfiction. I'm right now just head down in a book about the language of cults. So things that you would
Interesting.
never think, yeah, it's really weird. Things you would never think would tie together, but I think it all sort of comes into synthesis. And then I'm able to use that and develop in my leadership. But also, I put myself in deliberately challenging situations where I know that I'm probably going to fail and I'm not going to do well. And it's things that I'm not as naturally good at because I learn things about myself in seeing how I react to that failure and how I react to the new situation. And I can always make a different decision next time.
Hmm, that's really good. That continual learning posture is what I
Yeah.
hear running through that whole thing. As you read, as you are constantly taking in new information, I'm curious, is there a book that has made a big difference in your journey that you'd love to recommend?
Oh gosh. Oh, there's so many. I think the one I'll go with is Indirect Work by Carol Sanford. It's a teeny little book, very short, but she let me think about how I want to describe it. It's such a unique book. I'm not even sure how to go into it, but it's a business book. It's about leadership, and she takes the metaphor of most of us think about affecting change in a direct A to B situation, right? So she uses the metaphor of a pool table. If I hit the ball, that hits the other ball, and then I get what I want. And she's like, yeah, but what if you move the whole table? Like, how can you in your work move the entire table, which is so much more effective? So it's just a completely different dimension of working.
I've not heard of this book, but now you have intrigued me. I'll be picking that
It's
one up.
really interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Right. So, people look at you and they see somebody who is like incredibly successful with what she's chosen to do, with the business that she's built over 17 years. And I think that the natural response sometimes is to say, oh, wow, what amazing success. Oh, Rachel has never struggled like I struggle. She's never dealt with the problems that I deal with because they're looking at your highlight reel.
Sure.
Right. And that's so easy for us to all fall into. We know the fallacy of that. But in that spirit, I want to ask you a question. If I had the ability to snap my fingers and solve one problem right now in your business, what would you want that problem to be?
So the flip answer is I would like to be able to time travel and do more things. But I think the real answer is I think about how I want to phrase this. I think the real answer is I would love to only do the things that truly matter. And I find myself caught up in smaller things, trivia, email admin, all that kind of stuff. And I want to clone myself so that somebody else can do it to the level that I require. Because I've never found that in another person that I've worked with yet.
That's fantastic. I had a mentor tell me once that if somebody else can do something 80% as well as you can, that you should let them do it. As a leader, as an owner, you should absolutely hand it off. And I really pushed back hard on that.
Yeah.
And I said, 80%, are you joking? That's a C. Like, why would I let
Right.
somebody do C work on my team? Like, come on, give me a break. Like, no,
Yeah.
that's not what we want to do for our clients.
Wow.
And he said, that's where they start.
Mm,
And by the way, you started well below that. And you grew to where you are now. Why would you not, as their leader, give them the same opportunity and equip and empower them to grow only with you helping to guide the journey? And I've never forgotten that. I thought,
yeah.
wow, that's
I
so good.
feel that like in my chest. I'm not going to forget
Right?
that ever either. Yeah.
It landed so hard, and it really has challenged me ever since. I mean, that was decades ago. It has challenged me ever since to rethink how I do that and how I look at that, the development of other people and what I accept, because my standards, like yours, are pretty high.
Yeah.
80% is not going to cut it,
Yeah.
but that's where they start. And I think that's important. It's helpful for me to reiterate that sometimes and to remind myself of that. And I hope our listeners are hearing that as well, because I think so often, particularly as high capacity, high performance leaders, we have very high expectations of ourselves and of other people. And that's good. That's how we got to where we are. But when it comes to mentoring and leading, it's very, very important to right size those expectations for the growth journey of other people. Just came to mind as you said that.
Love that. I feel like I'm getting coached. This is wonderful. I'm like, yeah, tell me more. Tell me how to solve my problems.
That's why we help each other.
Yeah.
I have learned so much today in this conversation, and I'm so grateful for your transparency and your generosity in sharing from some of what you've learned on your journey so far. I know our listeners are going to want to continue to learn from you and learn more about what you're doing. What is the best way for them to do that?
They can find me at boltfromthebluecopywriting.com. They can also connect with me on LinkedIn, or they can email me like it is the ancient times at hello@boltfromthebluecopywriting.com, and I will email them back.
I love it. We will have those links in the show notes. Rachel, thank you truly for today, for this conversation, and for your generosity.
Thank you so much. I've so enjoyed this. Yeah. Wow. You ask amazing questions.